In today's coaster review, we are discussing Superman the Ride, formerly Bizarro, at Six Flags New England. This is an Intamin hypercoaster, consistently voted one of the best roller coasters in the world. I got to ride it for the first time this past summer, and it was one of my most anticipated rides. I was really looking forward to this. So what I'm going to be doing is run through the ride experience and giving my full thoughts on it so you can know what to expect when you go out to experience it. Now, starting things off by just talking about like the general appearance of the ride. When you're walking up to Superman, you just have this twisting track everywhere. The ride absolutely looks enormous. I mean, you can see it from anywhere in the park. Especially that spaghetti bowl section, it just twists everywhere around. It's kind of hard to follow where the train is going. So when you walk up to the entrance, you have that Superman sign, and it does have a pretty long queue, and to my knowledge, it like doesn't ever fill it. But you're gonna have to walk through like all these switchbacks. When you get into the station, they have like their golden ticket awards listed, so you can see how Six Flags is proud that this has been voted the #1 steel coaster in the world a couple of times. And you're gonna board your trains, and by far, this is just the part of the ride I was so disappointed. These restraints are stupid. Like, I'm sorry, I realize that's a really blunt word, but it is very true. The lap bars on these trains make it very hard to get airtime. And this is a ride focused on airtime. So as you're going through the ride course, on moments where you should be getting airtime, and my guess is you've been able to get airtime in the past, it's not the same thing. I mean, how hard would it have been to give it like the normal Intamin restraints, like a T-bar or something? But instead, it's just these really bulky restraints. They're really big. This lap bar is just like really fat. And so what that does is it makes it easier to come down on you during the ride, and it means you're also going to come up out of your seat less. So it's just kind of annoying. I mean, my understanding was when they changed it over back to Superman from Bizarro, that the trains would be an improvement. I don't really know what the trains were like before, but I was definitely disappointed with that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I was under the impression that this ride had like onboard audio. I couldn't hear it anywhere, so maybe it's just like not working or whatever. But that was just one of my observations. So you're gonna go up the lift hill. They play music from the speakers as you're ascending all the way up. Again, you're over 200 feet in the air. You just get this view of this massive body of water to your left, and then you go down the first great drop. I mean, it's pretty awesome. And then the first half of the ride, it's all like an out and back coaster, so it combines two different ride layouts. So layout wise, it's very original, which is something that I love. You've got the massive airtime hills, you have the big bank turns, you have the smaller ejector airtime hills, and then the second half of the ride is all twisters, so you have a mix of these low to the ground bank turns, you're going in and out of tunnels, you're flying every which direction. There is a little bit of theming during the ride. Like at one point you pass through this giant S, and at night it actually like flickers and goes around. It has this like light package, so that's pretty cool. And they'll have fog in like two different tunnels, one in the first half of the ride, then one in the second half of the ride. I mean, it's nothing really outstanding. For Six Flags, it's fine. And just in general, this is a coaster that's it's going to be very fun. You're going to like it. It's the star of the park. Wicked Cyclone, I do prefer to this, but this is going to be the ride that just everyone's going to enjoy. It's massive. It's got the height. It's got the speed. It's a really long ride. Like, you can't complain about the length of Superman. Like, my gosh, this coaster, it feels like two built in one. So really, I can't emphasize enough how awesome the layout is. I really just think the main problem with it is that it is harder to get airtime. And I don't know if I rode it on just like a weird day or whatever, but I did think it felt like a little bit more sluggish than it's supposed to be. I don't know. You can tell me based off of the footage they watched and if it looks like it's going about right or not. I think part of me was expecting in some sections it to be just a little bit faster or like a little bit more intense. But for the most part, Superman is really good. It's one of those top roller coasters you're gonna have. I don't know if it deserves the title of #1 steel coaster in the world. I can see why people would give it that. I personally don't think it's the best, but it is very good, don't get me wrong. So I'm going to give it, for its final score, a 9, and really I can't give it a 10 because the restraints just, it really for me kind of ruined the ride. Like, I think I would have ridden this a lot more and liked it a lot more if it had like a T-bar or something that was smaller and allowed you to come up out of your seat more, you know, really experience those airtime hills. But because for some of those moments you aren't really getting anything, it's harder to enjoy. Which is kind of a shame because it's been my understanding that Six Flags New England has kind of had some trouble with the trains on these in the past. So it's kind of a shame that they really just can't get it right. I hope that they fix them in the future. If they change the restraints out, I'd much more likely to give it a 10. But as for now, I just can't, just because I think that that is a major issue. But other than that, I mean, it's a smooth ride, it's long, it's actually got decent theme considering, you know, what you've seen in the past at Six Flags parks, so you can't really complain about that. At least it's themed. Better themed than a lot of hypercoasters, actually. But in general, those are my thoughts on Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. Let me know about what you think down in the comments section below. Have you ridden it? Do you agree with me? Am I totally wrong? Let me know. And of course, stay tuned for more coaster reviews. I have plenty more coming here at Coaster Studios.